Now, the war in West Asia has exploded further with strikes targeting an oil storage facility in Tehran. Missiles and drone attacks continue across the Gulf even after Iranian president's apology. Well, among all this, Israel continues to pound Lebanon as well. Now, let's take a look at the latest developments that we are tracking for you at this hour. U.S. President Donald Trump has said he is not looking to negotiate with Iran's remaining leadership. And Trump told reporters on Air Force One, and I'm quoting, "They'd like to settle. We're not looking to settle." He described the ongoing U.S. operations in Iran as an excursion and said issues such as rising gas prices and the safety of Americans would improve once the conflict ends. President Trump blamed Iran for the strike, on the other hand, on an elementary school in the southern Iranian town of Manama, which Iranian officials say killed at least 150 people. A New York Times investigation has found that the U.S. military was most likely responsible, but Trump and his War Secretary Pete Hegseth has denied the possibility.
Did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 170 people?
No, in my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hegseth? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Still investigating.
But the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
We think it was done by Iran. Because they're very inaccurate, as you know, with their munitions. They have no accuracy whatsoever. It was done by Iran.
Now, Kuwait's defense ministry, on the other hand, has said that fuel tanks at the Gulf nation's international airport were targeted in a drone attack as Iran continued its strikes across the region. Defense ministry says country's forces were responding to a wave of hostile drones that penetrated its airspace. Now, Saudi Arabia says it intercepted and destroyed 14 drones that entered the kingdom's airspace. 8 drones were intercepted in the country's airspace, and a further 6 were intercepted and destroyed east of Riyadh. Now, earlier, Qatar's defense ministry said that Iran had fired a dozen missiles at the country a day earlier. Now, out of these, 8 were intercepted, 2 fell in the country's territorial waters, and 2 landed in an uninhabited area. Now, airstrikes hit an oil depot in Tehran, triggering large explosions. Iran state media has said that U.S. and Israeli strikes hit the depot in the first reported attack on country's oil infrastructure. Visuals that you see on the screens did show a blaze and thick smoke rising from the direction of Tehran's Shahran refinery. Iran state media said that the refinery's facilities were not damaged. Meanwhile, Israel has said it hit 16 military aircraft belonging to Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Co. in overnight strikes on Mehrabad Airport in Tehran. Israeli military suggested that the airport was used to transfer arms and cash to Iran-linked groups, especially Hezbollah in Lebanon. Israel's military says it has carried out around 3,400 strikes on Iran since the start of the war a week ago. On the other hand, in Lebanon, Israel continues to hit Beirut and its suburbs. Lebanon's health ministry said on Sunday that the latest Israeli strike hit a hotel in central Beirut and has killed at least 4 people. Israel's military had claimed that it was striking Hezbollah infrastructure in the Dahiya area in Beirut. And to discuss the war situation, we were earlier joined by Dr. Paul Dorfman from Paris. He is a member of the Irish Government Radiation Protection Advisory Committee and also the chair of the Nuclear Consulting Group. Now, here's what he had to say on the current situation.
Iran it was known to have about 300 kilos enriched to about 60% before the last US attack on Iran. So that its enrichment possibilities, in other words, its potential to have a bomb, was significantly halted. Now, what then happened was that long discussions were being taken place, almost up to the point of the start of bombing. And there was huge compromises being agreed. that Iran would dilute its enrichment, that it would not go forward to a bomb, and that all its facilities would be invigilated, would be moderated, would be investigated by the UN nuclear regulatory force, the IAEA. So there seems no apparent real threat that Iran is anywhere near creating a bomb. It's becoming something that's getting out of control. Now, Trump is unhinging the global, well, the global order, and this emphasis on using on first use of force is becoming a new normal, and that has huge implications for the world order, where the so-called preventive or preemptive wars are becoming something that may possibly be increasingly accepted. Now, that is hugely important, and it sets a kind of a principle that really one doesn't really want to or need to go down. Now, in terms of the Gulf itself, it was clear that before this war started, before the bombs started dropping, there was a pan-Gulf move to resolve this through diplomacy, including Saudi, including Qatar, including all of the Gulf states, which, of course, the bombing completely nixed. The bombing completely stopped. So, as we all know, the problem with war is once it gets started, the problem is it tends to get out of control.